And I probably should have, said that ahead of time and recorded it, but I apologize. But welcome, Thomas. I'm really excited to have you here. All right.
Well, Greg, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to look at and speak to the MIC community. And I hope that what I have to share today is something that they all and we all can use. So first of all, how's everything up there in Jersey land? Is weather
It's
going good
going
for you?
good. Yeah, going good. Busy as usual. Welcome, Lisa. And Vuno, is it Vuno? I'm so bad at pronouncing names. I hope it's Vuno or Vuno. But welcome everybody. But everything's going good up here.
That's good. That's good. And I hope everything is going swell for our attendees where they're located. And I hope that they're happy. And I'm glad to see their smiling faces. But today, what I would like to do is give you 3 seconds prior to me starting my presentation to get yourself a pen and something to write with, because I'm getting ready to take you to school. um, you know, a lot of times I do have the presentation slides and everything, but this time I want to make sure that you only write what is important to you today. I don't want you to try to look at lines on a presentation. I want you to listen to me and I want you to interact with me. And if I say something and you have a question, I have a lot of content to cover. But if I say something and you have a question, I want you to do like this, because that means you have a question or there's something that either myself or Greg needs to further address. And I don't mind not getting through my entire session because you have a question. I want to make sure you understand. It's just like if you go to church and a preacher says, don't ask any questions. I got to get this sermon through, you know. Okay, guy, get your sermon through, you know. But anyway, today, yes,
I'm gonna
sir.
raise my hand for a second too. Also, if you have questions, you can drop them in the chat if you don't feel comfortable talking, or there's a little virtual hand raising thing in the center of your um, console. And now I'm gonna shut up. Back to you, Thomas.
That's fine. That's great. That's great. Because throughout the conversation, I may want to ask you something, Greg, to either echo or if you have a personal feeling on something, you
Yeah,
know. Now,
I'm all about it.
today I'm hoping that the end result is going to address things, what I call the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps I consider are things like progression, power, and path. Now I'm going to be looking at a couple of screens as I give this presentation. So if it looks like I'm looking sideways, I'm looking sideways because I'm looking at another screen, but I'm also paying attention to you also. But the 3 Ps, progression, power, and path. And I address those 3 Ps in every bullet comment that I'm getting ready to talk to you about, because in some shape or fashion or form, it's going to satisfy either the progression that you are going, whether it's fast, slow, or not at all, and the cause of why your progression is either fast, slow, or not at all. The power, the second P. Some of these bullet comments are going to address power. When I say power, I mean what power are you presenting? What power are you giving out? You have to be powerful in this industry. You cannot be a weakling. And then the path. Some of these bullet comments are going to dictate your path. And when I state your path, I mean, are you going left, right, or straight? Are you deviating or not? Are you listening to people that know and can put you on a right path? Or are you just saying, I'm going to do what I want to do anyway? This is my path. So the 3 Ps, progression, power, and path. Now, when you are in this industry and you want to deal with relationships, you have to first ask yourself, can I define my why? In every industry, there's a why. In other words, why am I doing this? Okay, what is your why? If you cannot define your why, then you need to stop right now. time out. Why am I doing this? So define your why first. Relationship building in this industry is nothing but a stepping stone to the various phases of your career. You have to be able to have stepping stones, just like you go into the door, there are stepping stones to go into that door. Not everybody has a clear walkway. Sometimes people have stepping stones that they have to go up in order to get to different phases of their career. So, which means relationship building is a stepping stone. Without relationships, you're not going to be able to make it. Okay. Now, some of these relationships may be here and you are here, but you can learn something in between. You can learn something from somebody that's even down here. So they need to be counted as far as being part of your relationship. Shake your head if you follow me so far. Okay. Now, you also have to be able to get out and socialize. That's part of relationship building. If you are not socializing, it doesn't have to be with artists in the industry, but you have to socialize with people, period, in order to be able to know what the world needs. Can you, and I'll say what the world needs, not all the time what you need, but what the world needs. Because remember, your fans are the ones that's going to make you succeed or not succeed. So if you don't socialize, then you will not be able to conquer what is necessary for you to meet your goal of being an awesome musician or an artist writer. Make sense? Okay. All right. Now, in this world of virtual communications, you know, the internet and this and that and cell phones and texts, let's establish this one fact, which is real. You have to, if you don't get out to socialize, you must get as much face time and Zooming as possible with people that you want to either affect or people that you want to affect you. Now, let me tell you why I say you must get enough face time. Because you want people to be able to read you and you want to be able to read people. And FaceTimes through Zoom calls and, you know, virtual meetings is very important because this is the next best thing to being there physically with a person. You know, you'd be surprised just how many career accolades have been formed because of COVID and everybody having to go to FaceTime and then Zoom calls. Some of these relationships are so strong that people have never even physically met them and shook their hand, but yet they met with them so many times and so much over virtual networks such as Zoom and Facebook and you know, all of these things where I can see you. I can see when you gulp. I can see when your eyes go up. I can feel how you twitch if I say something that you don't agree with. I mean, these are all parts of relationship building in the industry. This way, since you cannot be with a person, but you can virtually be with them, you can still have a feeling of them, which is very important. Okay? And the church say amen, right? Amen. But the most important thing, what I want to emphasize on this, and I'm not going to be doing all this church stuff, and I'm just, you know, it's just a joke, okay? So don't take me serious there. But anyway, um, you know, the most important thing is that you must face to face with people as much as you can, because you know how it is when you get a text from somebody or a Facebook message from somebody or an email, and you read into it so much that you're actually making up something that's not really what they're meaning to say. Or you're saying, well, damn, they didn't have to say it like that, or nah, Jack, this ain't gonna work, you know. But if you were face to face with them, Zooming or what have you, then you can feel them a lot more. And their presentation would be a lot different. You got to realize when some people answer your texts, this we're still talking relationship building now, because this is all part of it. This is all part of the heavies. When you're reading somebody's text, sometimes we get a habit of reading into it too much, or not reading into it enough, or the person that's creating that text doesn't have the greatest writing skills or expression skills in writing. Okay, which could throw things off to the left instead of to the right where you're trying to go with it. So get as much face time as possible. Don't be afraid to ask someone, hey, is there any way, can we do you have what do you have? Do you have Android, or do you have what do you have? Can I see you? Can we talk? You know? And a person that's serious business about you and about your mission, and you being serious about them and their mission, should not mind that, even if you have to put a time to it. Well, I'm not dressed for it right now, but can we do it in 30 minutes? Can we do it in 42 minutes from now? But sure, I would love to be able to FaceTime with you. That way, you know immediately, if this is going to be a long-term relationship. You with me? Okay. Next thing I want to talk about is you must network with like-minded people more so than non-like-minded people. Okay. You look at yourself during the day, and even if you have to write down on a pad and paper your schedule, make sure that your schedule, if today is a work day for music for you, make sure that your scheduling has nothing to do but dealing with people that can promote and or help your goals music. If today is a fun day for you, then make sure that you have enough on that schedule to create fun for yourself. Okay. In other words, be purposeful and not um, dealing by accident. But at the same time, I want to tell you this about prospecting when you're dealing with relationships building. There's a saying that I would tell a lot of times my agents, and that has to do with recruiting. Because in the financial services field, you're recruiting other agents, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In multi-level marketing businesses, your mind is recruiting other people, trying to build your downline and et cetera, to greatness. Don't go out to recruit fans, comma. Recruit fans as you go out. There's a big difference. And your mindset and your mentality will mess you up. If you get up in the morning, you say, I'm going out and recruit fans by giving them CDs and disc and email address. I'm going out purposely to do this. No, you go out into the world that knows nothing about yourself and you let it happen. Don't go out there with the purpose of getting fans. Does that make sense? Don't go out with the purpose of getting fans, because you can get disappointed. As you go out, create your fans. Give people the opportunity to say, well, what do you do? Well, tell me about you. Okay. So you don't go out with the intentions of creating fans. You go out and create fans as you're going out. Okay. Somebody's going to get that in a minute. It's going to speak to somebody in a minute. Now, also, when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with like-minded people, know when to tip your hat, know when not to tip your hat. There's a saying that we call tipping your hat. And what that means is telling everybody everything about yourself and your qualities and da 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 immediately before you know anything about them. Give people the time to talk about themselves. Now, your statement may be, well, how do I get people to talk about themselves so that I can tell them about myself? Well, flattery a lot of times will cause that to surface for you. Don't be afraid to flatter somebody or what they're doing, because that's what will create the conversation, which will create your potential opening. Oh, you do that? Wow, that is awesome. And then they'll tell you more. And then you'll have the time to interject what you do, because they'll eventually, if they're not all about themselves, they'll say, and what do you do? And then that's the time that you can go into your thing, but don't tip your hat so much that they know everything about you and there are no surprises left. You must always leave room for surprise that they don't know about you that is positive when dealing with relationship building, especially on the first time. Because if you tell them too much, if you tip your hat too much, there may not be a second meeting. And I'll tell you why. Because you may create in them a threat. You may be so good and they've made up so much bullshit that they don't want to deal with you now. You with me? So don't tip your hat. Just give them enough so that they will come back and want to know more. And that's the same thing when you're going out to try to find opportunities. I don't care if it's booking or whatever. You know, you have to make sure that you don't tell everything about yourself, your qualities. You want to hear what they are about first. And you want to see how deep they can tell you about themselves. That way, is this even within my league right now? Okay, it may be too heavy of a league for you right now, and you just may want to just keep that on the back burner, but keep it so friendly that you can still come back to it. Because if you ruin it by telling them everything about yourself, you may not have a second chance. Are you with me? Greg, is there anything that you want to echo on that part, how important that is?
First, great presentation so far. That's my compliment.
Okay. That's not flattery, right?
But no, I think there's a lot of good aspects of what it is that you're saying. I mean, even as you're talking right now, my wheels are spinning, and I've been doing this for a long time. But you're right. Like when it comes to networking and gaining allies and growing your fans or growing your contacts, it's about recognizing I think partly who you need to ally yourself with, and recognize who's on your level, who's way past your level, and then knowing how to approach each type of person in that way. But I think you're exactly right when it comes to making a new contact. It's crucial to get them talking about themselves, because if you approach them with a hard sell or only talking about yourself, it always just backfires in a major way. So yeah, I think I'm 100% on board with everything you're saying. And even too, like I had mentioned at the start of this about the new service I'm making with Concert Collab. Before this call, I was thinking, all right, I need to find allies to bring into my company. I don't want to start going out and just cold calling musicians who are, I'm looking to work with. I'm thinking of who can I go out there and find that is like-minded to myself, that's trying to fix X, Y, and Z, explain what I'm doing as well, and see how that might establish. So yeah, I think everything you're saying has a lot of validity in helping build positive and mutually beneficial relationships.
Exactly. And and talking about the social networks, one mistake that a lot of us make, and I made back in the day, and sometimes every now and then I make a mistake and make the mistake again, is asking people to share a link of, say, for instance, your album or whatever, before even establishing a hey, hi relationship. You know, in other words, bulk sharing. Everybody stop what you're doing and share this link. You know, some people don't care about you, first of all. So they don't care about helping you promote you. So, you know, I think in building relationships, we have to really seriously build a relationship, even if it's an email that they don't answer, but yet you can see on Facebook that they saw it at least. You know, at least establish a couple communications with them before you ask them, hey, would you mind sharing this link to my XYZ page or what have you? Or I think this is something that you would like. And you would only know that if you had a relationship with them, first of all. Or they post something and you say, you know what? I wrote a song that's similar to your situation. And I think you would enjoy this. You send it to them and build that relationship with them. You know, I've talked to artists that say the only time some people come to see them is because they built a relationship with them. They felt like they knew them. So they came to their show and sometimes overcrossed state lines. You know, they drove 122 miles and 16 red lights to come hear them play, their band play, simply because of the relationships that they built. So, you know, try to get in the habit of not force feeding someone to share your links or material. Build that relationship first. First of all, because it's going to be a longer term relationship. Make sense? You got to build that relationship. Now, when you're trying to build a relationship, don't be afraid. And I know a lot of these things are maybe oxymorons, but that's the way the business is. You know, D if you do, D if you don't. You know, so but try to also target the head cheeses of organizations or venues along with the low hanging fruit. Okay, because there's a difference. There's the head cheeses, in other words, the decision makers, people who actually make the decisions, of whether you can play there or not, or whether you're worthy of being even a fan. And then there's the low hanging fruit, who are actually what we call the influencers. A low hanging fruit are the people who can influence the head cheese. So you sometimes got to play both, but you got to play them both differently, and you got to know when to play this one and play this one, but don't play them against each other. Just have that relationship with each other. And let me tell you another benefit behind having a relationship like that. And it's because people move in the industry to different positions. I don't care if it's being fired and they're out on the street, or being promoted. People in the industry are constantly being fired, or they're being promoted, or they're starting their own thing. So if you build that relationship with the head cheese and also the low hanging fruit, then you can cover all bases in your communications and in your relationship attempts. Make sense? In other words, hit the head cheeses, let them know you're there. Hit the low hanging fruit, which is going to help you, or they're going to carry you with them if you build a relationship. Now, who is the most important for the long-term relationship? And some of you may disagree with me on this, but I'm going to tell you who the most important in a long-term business relationship in music is the low-hanging fruit. And let me tell you why I state it's the low-hanging fruit, because they are always trying to get to there. And in order to get to there, they have to have good resources or sources or people or bands or artists in order to get them there. Because these people up here are constantly fighting to remain there. Make sense? And the people who are going to knock them out are the low-hanging fruit. And if you make enemies with your low-hanging fruit, you can forget your career, because low-hanging fruit can sometimes hang you worse than the people that are up there that are already at the top. Somebody disagree with me, fight me.
I'm not going to disagree with you. But yeah, I mean, when I first started working in the industry, a big part of what I did when I was working for Nile was networking. And my mentor at that point in time is a woman by the name of Sue Plunkett Green, who's Nile's executive assistant. And she taught me a lot about what I learned when it comes to exactly what you're talking about right there. And she would use a variety of different tactics. So she had a lot of good contacts, but she would always teach me, like, you have to figure out how to get to the decision maker, like you're talking about. Usually that is through like a lower level person and networking your way there. And occasionally she would say, she's like, sometimes I just like to go to the president of the company or the vice president of the company and talk to them and then have them connect me with the right person, because when you're getting an introduction from someone's boss, you're more likely to have a more productive relationship with the person lower level. So I agree with you. I think it's the lower level people that have all the power, even though not only for the reason that you're saying too, but they're the ones doing the actual work. When you're building a business relationship in this industry with the people that are doing the legwork, that are investing the time in for those bosses want to keep those underlings happy and their jobs easy to manage. And if you're working at collaborating with them and supplying them with what they need, all that boss is going to ask is who should we continue to work with and partner with, and the response will be you. And that's how I built the whole video game aspect of Nile's label. But that's a key point of what you're saying. So I'm not going to disagree with you because you're spot on.
Now something else that we have a bad habit of, in relationship building, we have to make sure that we correct this situation, is that if someone thinks of you enough to email you or text you or call you and leave a voice message, make it a priority to respond back to them, if possible, 5 to 15 minutes later, not a couple of days later. Let me tell you why I state that. Because, hey, if I'm going to email you or send you a text, that means you are, first of all, a priority in my thought and in my heart. Okay. And if it's something important enough for me to email you, text you, or whatever, communicate with you, then if you don't feel I'm important enough for you to respond back to me as soon as possible, I can see if you're on an airplane or you're driving and it's longer than 15 minutes. But if you're sitting at home or in your office and you get a text and you're not on a call like I'm on a call right now, Zoom call, where I can't say, well, excuse me, I need to text this person back, you know. But if you see my text, answer me within 15 minutes if possible. It's important that I may possibly have a decision that I have to make, that someone else is waiting on me. Okay. So you have to be courteous. Respond to your texts and or any kind of communication that someone else, fan or business relationship, contacts you. Don't forget about them or think, oh God, there's that person again or whatever, don't be like that. And a lot of times us artists and, industry people, we're like that because there's somebody else higher on a totem pole that we want to deal with or that we're dealing with. Okay. So hit your stuff up 5 to 15 minutes later. Don't ignore, okay, here's relationship building this for songwriters. Don't ignore other songwriters. And the reason why I state that is because in this industry today, multitudes and multiple songwriters are on projects. And if you ignore one songwriter, you may alienate the main person who's financing it. So if someone says, well, I got XYZ person and this person and that person, collaborating on a song and you say, well, I don't collaborate with anybody, I'm not splitting my royalties with anybody, it's either me and somebody else, or but 3, 4, 5 people. No, but the industry today, that's the way they operate. So you cannot ignore other songwriters or other collaborators simply because you want to do it all yourself and you don't want someone else to share in on the commissions. Okay, commissions is a word, same thing as royalties. Okay. You have to make sure that you understand how the industry works enough to know that the situation that you are in and the people that you're dealing with, they deal with multiple writers or multiple bands. You may be the type of person, well, they have too many bands on the weekend. I'm not sharing the stage with this band or that band. Wrong answer. You share, you do what you have to do with who you have to do. You with me? Okay. Are there any questions so far from anybody that's in the galley right now about anything that I've covered? Raise your hand if so. You good? Okay. Now, networking is also about figuring out how you can help somebody and being outside yourself. Well, why would I want to help somebody else if I'm trying to make it myself? Because the person that you are trying to help out, if you've done your homework and you've built the relationship strong enough in advance, then that person will be the one that's going to also help you out. And what I mean by help out, will refer. Hey, do you don't mind? I know a person who does this, or I know a person who can do that, or has this type of voice, or has this, XYZ, XYZ. And it's only because they're returning the favor because you paid it forward. So that term, pay it forward, pay it forward. Don't be so into the jealousy thing or, oh, I don't like that person. And deep inside, it's only because that person threatens your survival. So don't be afraid of surviving. You have to be able to think outside yourself and help someone else to achieve their goals. It is also your responsibility in relationship building to help people find themselves. Okay? Remember, it's not all, hey, look, we're artists. It's not for real. It's not all about us. Because if it was all about us, then we wouldn't need relationships. So sometimes, even when you are an artist or you don't even know what you don't even know about yourself yet. Our songs and everything, a lot of times they're not even about anything but ourselves. So you have to, and I know I'm going around in circles just to tell you that you have to get out of yourself in order to build a relationship. You cannot build a relationship just by being inside yourself. You with me? So your networking has to be able to include helping other people achieve their goals. I don't care if it's you meet a booking agent and he's just or she is just starting out and they have a limited amount of bands, but they want to be a booking agent. Okay. But you as an artist, 7 or 8 bands. You tell them, hey, you tell them about the bands. Okay. Tell the booking agent about the bands and help them fill their catalog. But you don't be afraid to say, hey, look, as you're booking these people, can you possibly, help us out too? It's tit for tat, right? Okay. So don't be afraid to help people. Something that's very dangerous in the industry and relationship building is also bringing along what we call haters. Haters, Haters. You don't know if the person that you're building a relationship is actually an undercover hater or not. So you must be able to have what we call discernment of the people that you build in your relationship with, because of haters. They don't want to see you succeed. They're hating on you. Okay? They're hating on your posts. Hold on for a minute. Let me mute this because my dogs is screaming for a minute. Let me text my wife and tell her.
That doesn't come through. You're good. But I will say, like, as he's taking care of that, that like it is crucial to, if you want to get support in your careers, to learn how to support the other people that you know. It's actually the most important rule of networking. So, if it's just doing a favor, if it's liking someone's post, whatever it is, it's a crucial aspect of the whole networking aspect. And then as far as the hater stuff goes, that's also important too. Think about like what you're doing and the people that you've allied yourself with. Are they bringing us the same mindset and positivity to what it is you're working on, or is it negative? I've worked with musicians and I always try to help every musician I work with, but occasionally I get musicians that I'm trying to help that just don't want help, or
Right.
I can't do this, and it's never going to work. Oh, everyone tells me to do that. I'm not even going to bother trying. Like when you introduce that attitude to a community of musicians that already feeling uncomfortable about trying to grow their careers, it's a poison pill towards what's going on. And the same thing is true too, like for artists, the wrong fan or the wrong strategic partner in another artist. You have to really, it goes back to that whole like mind aspect of it. You have to have people that care about you as much as you care about them, and be willing to work and support one another in all your endeavors. And I believe in that so much. Again, that's one of the reasons why I'm doing that whole life service thing for us. It's like, if you just help each other, good things will happen. High tide raises all ships.
And the dangers also with haters is sometimes if you don't have the discernment to recognize a hater, the damage can be done to you that sometimes could take you years to try to recover from. So you have to, don't think everybody is your friend, especially in this industry. Which brings me to my next point, your value in relationship building. You are either considered, and I hate to say this, either a transactional value or a long-term value. And it is your responsibility to be discerning enough to realize what you represent to a relationship. Am I a transactional value? In other words, is it something that they can only get out of me, but they can't give to me in return? Or is this a long-term value because they realize the value positive that I give to them and they give to me? In this industry, there are an huge, unequaled amount of transactional values. In other words, they're only good for this next album coming out. And then we got somebody else to replace them. Or they're no longer good. Or they can only do this. They can't do anything else. They're only a transactional value. To be a long-term value in this industry, here's how you protect yourself. I'm getting ready to tell you right now. Write this down. Become diversified and flexible. In other words, there's going to come a time in your life, in your music career life, that you may not be able to sing or play an instrument or what have you because of either illness and or something else, da, 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 da. What else can you be flexible and diversified and you've studied enough to do it? That's where the business comes in. So, and which is, something that us as artists, we tend to lack, the business aspect. Become something of value to something or somebody else other than just a singer or just a guitar player or drummer or whatever. Have other skills available. It's the same thing when you're working out in the regular industry. If all you can do is XYZ in the office, then and you can't do that anymore, but yet if you could do something else, then you would still be employed. It's your fault for not looking over somebody else's shoulder and or studying something else or becoming a professional in something else in order to survive. Here's the deal. In music industry, it's not enough just to say, well, I play an instrument very well. You must be also able to say, I know the business very well. You have to. You cannot be one-legged in this industry. I'm talking about dealing with relationships. So how do you become two-legged in the industry? Dealing with and establishing relationships with people that do different multitude of things up and down the ladder. You with me? Know something about a lot enough that you could do it if you had to. You know how they say fake it till you make it? You got to know how to fake it in order to make it eventually. You with me? Any questions? You want to fight me on that?
No, I can elaborate, but yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, because you're replaying my career. I mean, like when I first started working for Nile, I was just an office assistant, so all I was doing was answering phones and you know, maybe booking the occasional tour. Then all of a sudden, I started doing production coordination for him, and then I started working for his label. And at his label, I started reorganizing his digital distribution and building his website. And like, you know, after a while, I was running just about everything, but there was no way I could ever be fired because no one else could replace everything that I did. And speaking to what you're talking about from a transactional aspect for musicians, you know, the reality is most musicians are a one-trick pony. They don't bring anything more to the table than just a song. And that's not enough in this industry. A lot of musicians want to get heard and want to make contacts and want to tour and do all this type of stuff. But if all you can do is play and perform and nothing else, it's just not enough in a lot of circumstances to kind of push forward. So like knowing your business, having a network, you know, knowing how to help promote or support others, or you know a lot of musicians, everything, every contact that you make, every audience member that you have, everything that you learn makes you more valuable in a relationship. So even if you only do all you can do is perform, but if you have a great network and you know how to, you know, maybe organize people for a show, promote, these are all things that make you valuable to other people, because not everybody is a jack of all trades. So, you know, when you are trying to build alliances in this industry, a lot of ways that you can go about doing that is by bartering. So if you can sing on someone's album, fantastic. If you can sing and play guitar on someone's album, even better. If you can sing and play guitar and you know how to promote and you have connections with a business person that's going to help launch the album, how many more people are going to want to work with you? So everything that Thomas is saying is 100% accurate. The more valuable, the more you know, the more people that are going to want you in their corner, and the more opportunities you're going to have to grow your career.
Exactly. Now, one time, okay, when I was over Germany, someone had told me, and I always remember it. They said, Thomas, you know what? You sound better playing a Strat. And I was playing guitars with humbuckers only, right? At the time. And then I picked up a Strat because there was a Strat in the studio. And I picked up a Strat and I was playing, and I was just playing. And he said, you know what? You're a Strat guy. And the point I want to make here is this. Sometimes somebody can tell you what you're better at because you can't tell yourself it. You can't tell yourself it because you're into yourself that you can't get out. But sometimes a person of value that you respect can tell you what you're good at. And the reason why sometimes it's not always true, okay? But the reason why is because sometimes people can tell what you're actually called to be or do. by the way you make them feel. See, sometimes, people say, well, he or she, or you say to yourself, well, I'm called to be a this or that. But if you don't act it, or if you don't emit that aura of your calling, you're not really called. Because if you're called to be something or do something or be somebody else will recognize that. I know that's going to go over somebody's head, but I'm going to let it go over there because eventually you're going to get it. Somebody else can tell you what you are by the way that you make them feel. It's not always true, but I'd say 80% true. You're good at what you like to do, but your results is always better if you're doing what you're called to do. Hmm?
I'm not going to disagree with you again. Sorry.
Okay.
I wish I could.
Now,
I like getting little
now,
arguments kind of going sometimes in these sessions, but I
hey,
mean,
now
in
something
my
I
entire
want to,
yeah.
yes, I want to mention this also. Um, and it has to do with being called and also the results that you emit in your aura from being called. Don't fight everybody and everything all the time just to be right. In this industry, when you're building relationships, if you get a habit or a person say, well, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, they're always right, or they're gonna fight you, man. If you get known to be a fighter and the bull in the china shop, in other words, if you come around, people start immediately getting uncomfortable and they know your reputation, you're not gonna make it. In relationship building, you cannot fight everybody all the time and fight everything all the time. As growing up, a lot of times they say, well, look, if you don't want it, throw in a trash can. Okay. That's what you need to start doing. If don't take ownership of some things that some people may want to cast on you. If it makes sense. If you can't use it, throw it away. But don't fight all the time. Sometimes you have to keep your mouth closed in this industry and building relationships, because of certain things you don't believe, especially when it comes to meeting people and trying to build relationships with people that have different political, religious, or cultural differences that they believe in. It's up to you early in the game, to decide whether you want to even deal with that person because of their political, cultural, or religious beliefs. It is very important. See, some people say, well, you can't let, bless you. You can't, some people say, well, you shouldn't let politics or cultural beliefs or religious beliefs enter into and influence your music career. I'm going to tell you right now, wrong answer. Your music career is your lifeblood. It's going to be the thing that you hopefully one day will be able to support yourself and or your family with. This is something, remember, you're called to do. Not every battle is yours to fight. Okay, you're not here to be guitar player slash um, whatever to make somebody act right because they wearing a red hat. That's not your mission. Your mission is to link up with and form relationships with people that are going to help you better yourself, not make yourself all angry at the end of the day and ask yourself, well, why I can't sign a contract with this person. You need to figure that stuff out early in advance and put a wall right there and don't allow it to go further. Don't fool people into thinking that y'all can get along in this industry um, when you know really you can't. Is the juice worth the squeeze? That's my man. That's right. You know? I mean, you know what's happening in the world today. You can't, if you can't deal with it in looking at the news, and you got your comments and you can't deal with this and that, don't subject yourself just so that you can get a hit record financed, or get to the head cheese. Don't allow yourself to be that way. Okay, you're gonna eventually damage yourself. And I'm gonna get off of that, but that's dealing with relationship building. Know and have that discernment of who not to deal with, or how long to deal with that person. You are in control, not them.
Actually, I'd like to add just one small point to
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
because I agree with everything you said, and I think it's important, depending on where you're at with your career, to not, you know, to work and be easy to work with. But if you do find someone that is disagreeable in your career, even if you choose not to work with them, make sure that you don't burn that bridge either. You don't want to create enemies as
Right.
well. There are lots of people in this industry that I don't like, or I don't agree with, or I don't like the way they treat different people. Um, but I to them I'm friends, even
Yeah.
though in my mind I'm not. And the reason why that's for it's not worth the aggravation or the difficulty, and you don't know what kind of negative impact they can have on you. So even though it might not feel great to be aligned with someone that you're not best friends with, you don't want them acting against you in any way, shape, or form. So
That's
it's
right.
really
'Cause
important to balance that.
yeah, yeah, you got to balance it out because it can hurt you. It can
Yeah.
hurt you, especially if you let it be known that I don't like you because you don't have to tell everybody you
Yeah.
don't like them, because you just know
It's
when to
yeah, and it's
stop. Like you say, know where the boundaries are. That's it.
yeah.
Now, let's talk about not being obnoxious in this industry when when you're building relationships, because we run into some people that are very obnoxious, and it seems like, God bless their soul, I mean, they don't even realize that they're obnoxious. They've gotten away with it so long and so much in their life that they don't even realize that you know what, you're an obnoxious person. Get away, get away, get away, get away. um be the type of person that your phone calls and your texts will go to the person and not to their voicemail. Because, some people, they see you call, oh God, no, I ain't gonna answer that. You know, it's gonna go to my voicemail. But then there's some people that, you call them, and they'll answer right away or within that 5 to 15 minutes, because you're not obnoxious, and they know that, you know, it's refreshing to talk to you. Not every time that you talk to them is doom and gloom and oh gosh, this or that, or they're asking for this or that. There's always something that's, helping them, keeping them up during the day. You're their lifeline. Um, Now, something that's also obnoxious, and I know y'all probably have seen it before, when you're meeting someone that is an influencer in the industry, don't always be here, take this. Can you listen to this? Build that relationship. Okay. Don't always be ready to give somebody a CD or have CDs and cassettes in your pocket, ready. You going to some place or conference and you got a whole shitload of CDs and everything in your jacket, or just ready to give them out. You got your plan is to give out 50 CDs tonight. No, you build that relationship, but always have something ready and available. See, a lot of times people, they'll tell you, well, you got something that I can hear? If you don't have a link, if you don't have a CD, something physical, then you don't even need to be going to the conference. If you don't have an EPK, if you don't have something that they can listen to or look at, you don't need to be going to the conference. I'm sorry. Shoot me if you want. But like, if you don't, if your purpose of going to a conference or a venue where somebody important is and you don't have some type of something, even if it's a business card, then you're wasting that person's time to even approach them. Okay, because most of the times the first thing they're going to say is, what do you have? Do you have something? And chances are you don't have something on the spot, but if you got a business card, I call it going old school. Old school. Old school means, you carry a business card with you and you give it to them. They may lose it, but chances are they won't. They'll lose your email through a whole bunch of other stuff versus a business card. Because a business card, they'll take it out and lay it on the nightstand at nighttime, and they may look at it and see a website and say, well, let me just check this person out and see what's up. And they'll do that. Believe me, they will. Now, here's something in building relationships. If you're going to hand out someone a business card or a CD or something like that, how about handing them also a gift card with it? Think about this for a minute. Because if you just say, hey, here is my CD, can you please listen to it? Or here is my business card with my link to it. Can you please listen to it? I think it's something that your label or your company or your venue is going to like. And attached to that CD and or business card is a gift card for some place, a dinner for two or whatever that impresses them more. It may be an expense to you, but guess what? It's a form of marketing that tells me that you using your brain. You're not just giving me something, telling me, listen, you're giving me something and also a gift in advance for just considering me. Any comments, Greg?
Yes, I accept all Amazon gift cards.
Yeah.
No,
Now,
I mean, I've actually never thought about that before, but that would be it would definitely help you stand out and kind of get in someone's brain, because it's not something I think most industry professionals would expect, but that is a brilliant idea.
yeah. Now, also at the same token, let me see. Now, keep me on time. Also, Gregory. Okay, make sure we don't go too much.
We're
How
at
much?
we're about 3:40. You're at 2:40 your time, so we've been going for a little.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Because I want to make sure we have a Q&A afterwards and everything. So, now when you're building relationships and you're using this device right here, there's a term that we call psychodialing. Psychodialing is when you got somebody's phone number and you call them, they don't answer, and then you just keep on calling them. You'd be like, and then when they look at their phone, they got about 42 missed calls from you. That's called psychodialing. Don't psychodial a person. You call them once, leave a message. If you're interested to them, they may practice that 5 to 15 minute rule, etc. But nobody's going to psychodial you unless you're very, very important. Don't you psychodial somebody in the industry, because that's a good way to get blacklisted. It also shows you're not confident enough in what you previously gave them or presented to them, that CD or whatever. You're not confident enough in your abilities, and they'll peep through that. They'll look through that. And chances are they're not, if you psychodial a person in the industry, they're not going to call you back. Chances are they're not even going to get one of their secretaries or something to call you back. You're worrisome. You are a problem for them if you psychodial a person. Same thing if you psycho email them constantly. Or have you heard it yet? Did you listen to it yet? Or I just, trying to get in touch with you to find out what you think about my song, or da 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 da. That is a mark of professionalism that is not professional at all. Sometimes you have to keep just enough of your head to be big-headed enough to say to them, not to say to them, but to say to yourself, they need me. I don't need them. Sometimes that's a good way to think. It may not be true, but to save self, you have to say, well, you know what? They need me. Their company needs me. Their label needs me. I don't need them. Now, let me tell you why that's true also. Because it's true. Because without you, they would not be in existence. It's just so that they have so many other people that are good or talented, because there are people that are talented that are long term in the industry, and then there are people that are talented that are short term in the industry. Okay, so
Yeah.
they're dealing with both of those long term ones who's trying to say, well, how come you're not gigging me enough? How come you're not getting me enough gigs? Versus the short term ones who are hot that they got to get out there. That's why the long termers are getting less amount of gigs, because they working trying to feed this other hot group while they're hot. Because when you're hot, you're hot. When you're not, you're not. Okay. You must know and be able to recognize the difference between friendship relationships and advancement relationships. This is going to be heavy, especially in the industry where artists, we are so emotional. As an artist, you're emotional. Okay. And in the midst of trying to build relationships, you have to know, well, this is a friendship, but this is for advancement. This relationship is for advancement. This one is for friendship. You have to know when it's time for friendship and advancement, and treat both of them separately until you can put them both together. If a relationship, if a person cannot do anything for your career musically, and you don't want to burn that bridge, as Greg said, keep them as a friend, a true friend. Communicate with them. Send them stuff just like you would, anybody else. Send them something free. Show them that they are appreciated. If a relationship is an advancement relationship, make sure that you send them the applicable or appropriate type of attention as a professional, not a friend. It's going to get you in a minute. There's difference between friendship and advancement potential. If they can advance your career goals, you treat them appropriate like that, and don't try to step into the friendship stuff. Leave the friendship stuff alone. If they're friends, don't try to move them into an advancement, because they can't help you. Just like the advancement relationship cannot help you with the friendship, because you're not a friend. You're a transactional value. That's what we were talking about, being transactional values versus the other kind of values. Make sense? Don't try to make some type of relationship something that it is not. Know when to categorize one or the other. Okay. Next thing I want to talk about, when building relationships, get out your own way. Sometimes we can get into our own way when building a relationship and destroy it. How do we get out of our own way? By not doing some of the things that I talked about in previous comments that are negative. Don't fight everything just because your feelings are hurt. In this industry, your feelings get hurt every day. It can get hurt every day by anybody, because of people are jealous of you, people are haters, people think that they can play better than you, and they want to show you, they want to put you and keep you in your place. Okay. So they try to hurt you on purpose. Get out your own way, move out of the way, move out of your feelings and emotions, And that way you get hurt less. Okay? Get out of your emotions. That way you spare getting hurt. Here's the key that I always live on. And you may not like it, but I'm going to tell you. To me, everyone is a suspect. Don't forget that. Everyone is a suspect until they show me different. When they show me that they can be trusted, when they show me that they have my best interests at heart, they're no longer suspect. Now, something else I want to talk to you about, and then I'm going to wrap this portion up, and then we're going to move into some Q&A, is what I call artist delusional syndrome. Are you as good as you think you are? Or are you just tripping right now? Artist delusional syndrome. And that's used also in the industry, but it's one of those back room slangs or back room terms that we use. Yeah, that person, he's just, or she's just delusional. She tripping, whatever. That means you're not as good as what you think you are, or you haven't arrived yet. Try to control delusion. If you think you're that good, there's always somebody better than you. There's somebody always faster, can shed faster, can play better, can sing better, can dance better, can even run a business better. So when you get to the point that you're delusional about your talents or about your abilities, it's time to go back to school and realize that there's other people out here that are better. Now, saying that, I'm going to say this. Not everybody better than you is $1 million seller. Everybody better than you is not a gold record maker. Everybody better than you that you're making a relationship, attempt to make a relationship with, is not a Burt Bacharach. There are people that are less talented than you that can still tell you something, and you can say, you know what? They're right. But you are the one that's making more money than they are. But yet they're telling you something that you all of a sudden saying, damn, that's a point there. I think I'm going to try that. Never be so delusioned that you cannot take or accept something from someone else that is what we call knowledge. The last thing I'm going to say, and then we're going to open it up for Q&A, is to make a habit in your life as a musician, as an artist, as a business owner, as whatever, that somebody will say when you're gone from this world, you know what? I think that person left empty. What do I mean by they left empty? That means they poured into me everything that they could to help me. So they had nothing left when they left this world. They left empty. They were not so self-consumed that they did not share knowledge or share whatever to help me. They left empty. I took it all. I took it all. They gave it all to me. So you be the type of person that you leave empty also. Don't be so afraid when you're building these relationships in the industry that you're going to tip your hat too much. I told you before, don't tip your hat. Now here's the deal. Don't tip your hat too early, but make sure that you tip your hat eventually. I'm good. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg.
No, thank you, Thomas. Great presentation, great talk. I think every aspect you covered is just a crucial aspect to relationship building. And like, again, like I've been doing this for 20 years. I was not a networker or relationship builder, I would say, before I entered the industry. And over the years, I've developed those skills and I'm pretty good at it. But when you break it down the way you broke it down over the last like hour, I'm just, oh yeah, I remember when I had to learn that. And I remember every skill that you talked about as I developed it, how it kind of brought me to a next level in my career. I could start dealing with different people. I was more easily workable with others, and it really helped further me along in a way that I never expected to. But it's such a crucial skill set to be able to build and maintain relationship with people and to not make some of the common mistakes that a lot of artists do. Even the psychodialing thing, like the aspect of it, maybe hopefully we don't have any psychodialers in the room. I don't think we do, but I've dealt with that, where someone's over emailed me, or, like as a coach question me, why can't I follow up with this person tomorrow? Like, because you just emailed them yesterday. Like, you got to realize that people aren't going to message you back immediately. They're going to get back to you. They're busy. They have a lot going on. And like, so all those things are really crucial tips. And you don't realize that like one misstep sometimes is enough to make you undesirable to work with. Because you want to be, again, easy to talk to, easy to connect with. You don't want to give people headaches as you're working with them. So that, I think, in general, in my mind, it's always easy, but it's not when you all of a sudden now have something that you're passionate about, like growing your career or doing something there you want immediate results. All of a sudden, that pressure of being able to slow play it and slowly build relationship doesn't feel like you can do it. Like, you have to push, you got to do more, you got to, and it's hard. And I'm speaking clearly from my own experience, because again, like as I've done this millions of times throughout my career, as I'm launching a server, like I need to get this going. Why aren't people emailing me back for it? And they're like friends, like people I know, and I'm like, oh wait, they're on tour. They're doing this, and it's just like, it's so easy to fall back into the mistakes that you can make. All the things that you talked about. It's important to remind yourself how to properly build and maintain relationships in this industry. It's everything. More important than marketing, more important than all the promotional stuff, even more important in a lot of ways than your music, because there's plenty of people out there that have crappy music and really successful careers. And that does not happen unless you have a lot of friends in this industry. And that's just the reality of it. So, it's the most important thing, I think, that you can really learn as a skill set in addition to music, is relationship building. And obviously the business stuff too. But like, if you can make allies and people like you and they want to see you succeed and you support them, like, that is going to go a long way to helping you get to where you want to go. And the same thing is true with your fans. If your fans see you as someone that's ungrateful, someone that feels like they're entitled to have a successful career just because they're a good musician, there's not a single artist, a single fan out there that's going to support you. Whereas if they see you're a hard worker, that you're talented, that the world's working against you, but you're doing everything you can to put a positive spin on your music career and get out there to do good, like, people are going to pull for you. They're going to want to see you succeed. So I think all those things are really important to incorporate. Now, before we dive into the Q&A, Daniel, who has to go, wants me to tell you that excellent presentation. And he's not in a place where he can participate in the Q&A, but thought it was fantastic. So,
well, thank you, Bulldog.
All right, so now we are going to officially open up for Q&As. I'd like to stay on point with the relationship building aspect questions, but also to, obviously, if you have career related questions at the end of Thomas's Q&A, we can open up for just general Q&A. But Thomas knows a lot about a lot of things. So one of the valuable things I love about having him as part of our MSE community during office hours, especially, is like, some people ask questions and I don't have to answer him. He'll be sitting there and be like, no, this is what you have to do. So he knows a lot. So just take advantage of the opportunity to get your questions in for him. So who has a question? Everyone's able to unmute themselves and talk. We're in a free reign here. So fire away.
I've got a question.
Great. Go ahead.
Yeah. So with the genre I'm in, with it mainly being hip hop and rap, I was curious about ego and image are so central with that, and I was wondering how you would recommend dealing with constant rejection or the thought of oversaturation in the genre without burning out or like second guessing yourself.
Right, right. Good question. That genre can be very alienating, but it can also be very, very positive for the world. It all depends on how you present it and also how you present yourself. Now, when you're dealing with a lot of rap and hip hop, I don't know how old you are, but I suggest that you make sure you're clean. When I say clean, in other words, clean your rap up to the point that um, little kids can listen to it and appreciate things about life, the positive things of life. Ego, a lot of times, is this defense mechanisms of a lot of artists, especially in the rap and hip hop. I don't want to, put a circle around and say only rap and hip hop, but what we see on TV and what we see on the internet on rap and hip hop is negative. It's so negative that if you want to make yourself, if you want to make an impression on the world, try to be so different that you create listeners that want to hear a positive message in your rap and in your hip hop. And you go around and you dress and you look like it, that you're trying to be positive and create a different image. Somebody's gonna witness it. Somebody's gonna see you, and they're also going to be able to see what you represent in your rap and hip hop.
Mhm.
That's dealing with ego. Now, let me tell you something else. Um, can I ask you a question? Please. How old are you?
32.
Okay. You're approaching that time in age and in presence that you want to leave a legacy and you want to be able to build on that legacy, something that's positive. You're 32 years old now. Think about how you want to be viewed and seen when you're 56.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you want to do. Your ego cannot make it so that you are still that rap hip hop artist with the same type of slang. Leave
Mhm.
yourself some kind of way that you can progress through the industry into something that will always create positiveness and something that somebody that's following you will want to be like. I want to be like him.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Does that
Good.
make sense?
Yes, definitely.
Are you with me or do you want to fight me?
No, I wouldn't fight you. I would say that, I mean, with what you're saying aligns a lot with, I'd say overall, like my value system and my morals and how I see this towards the end, because I, I guess to put it as short as I can, I like to view myself as the type of artist that it's not just the, I guess what people could stereotype as like aggressive rap and being in your face and braggadocious. It's more so having phases of that, I guess, would be my only like pushback. And like, the ego can have a part in that, but that's just a part of me as a person, growing as a person. And I like to sing as well. So I like mixing it with R&B and really just to show like a spectrum of emotions. And I definitely don't want to be at that age and say, well, I don't want to be like some other artists I've seen where they're still in that age approaching 60s 70s and still having a teenager mentality. So that makes a lot of sense to me with you reframing it that way. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I'll just want to add a little bit in there. Like the reality is for this music industry is every genre at this day and age is oversaturated because every musician that has a laptop can upload music to the internet. So there's no genre that's free of oversaturation. So your job as a musician is to figure out how to stand out. And I think the point that Thomas is making is, yeah, like to stand out being positive, with your music is definitely something that it would be a not normal take with a lot of rap. That said too, if that's what your calling is, where maybe you are a bit more negative, or I'm working with an artist right now that is doing gangster rap, and I'm just like, that's my kind of first venture into that, and I'm just like, wow, this has been in my mind overdone to some extent, and the negativity isn't great. And at first I was letting him kind of just be him, but after a while I'm like, this violence towards women and it's just not the message that should be coming out in this day and age. So these are all artistic things that we're talking about. From a business standpoint, the way that you stand out is through relationship building. It's highlighting, who you are as an artist. It's highlighting what your music stands for. It's highlighting, most importantly, the way you want your audience to feel when they listen to your music and they participate in the activity of your career. And that's where a lot of the branding and marketing and business stuff comes in. And business stuff, when it comes to marketing and branding, that's just relationship building online versus talking. You're using your brand to sell who you are, to tell people who you are. Your marketing, your posts is your way of talking to people when you can't physically be in front of them. So everything that I think, Thomas shared today is crucial to that development aspect. When you're building a relationship, it helps you to stand out in an oversaturated market. Just my 2 cents on that side of the subject.
Great. Thank you both very much.
Any other questions?
Lisa, do you have any? Yeah, go ahead.
You got to unmute yourself. It's more effective. There you go. Oh, almost there. Bottom left-hand corner is where the mute button usually is. There you go.
Hi, thank you so much for your really great presentation. Very informative. I am elderly artist, started my career in my sort of mid-40s, and I have big aspirations, big dreams and goals. What would your best advice be to catapult me or fast track things to kind of, get where I need to be? For a more elderly person, I'm not, starting in my 20s like most people in Nashville where I live. They started very, very young, and I'm starting my career in my sort of mid 40s, but now I'm in my 50s and I don't feel that I have a lot of time. So what would be your best advice be?
Well, I think Greg would be the professional that could help you and guide you in that direction as far as a pathway, at that age, because he's very good with working with elderly people. I'm an elderly person. But let me say this. What genre are you specific to per se, first of all?
Country pop.
Okay, country pop. Wide open for the older listeners, older fans. That's wide open. As a matter of fact, country pop is probably one of the most wide open genres for people that are over 45 years old. Okay. And there's enough younger than 45 that even listen to country pop because of the poppiness of the country. Okay. So I think that second question is, are you songwriter more or are you performer?
More performer.
More performer. Okay, so you doing cover tunes more likely, right?
Yeah, I've come out with some originals just recently, but
Okay.
until before that, it was covers.
Okay. So covers are cool, but your longevity is to write and get some originals out there yourself.
Yeah.
Utilize at this time, especially in the location that you are, to write and try to pierce the veil of other artists, take your stuff and use it in the studio or to perform your stuff. Okay. So what I'm saying is eventually performance days are going to be numbered. Okay. I'm witness of it. When I first got with MIC, I was not going to be dealing with no more bands because I've been dealing with that for all my life. But here I am, you know, still dealing with bands because this is something I like to do. So what I'm trying to tell you is performance days are going to be limited and numbered for you because of age. Okay, let's be real, because of age and really not wanting to deal with the bull crap that's out there. But make it so that you only perform when you want to, not because you have to.
Love that.
So that way, what I'm saying is increase your writing skills and your writing abilities and potentials and releasing your own stuff, you know, to supplement that time. Start using this and this instead of your body night after night, weekend after weekend. Only do it when you want to, but emphasize more on trying to penetrate that studio and artist veil with your material, even if it means they want to change a verse or they want to change a bridge or what have you. Just get it in there. But the only way that they're going to listen to you and talk to you and even appreciate you is that they feel that you have your business down. You know what you're doing. So programs like the MIC program will ensure that you have that abilities with the business. In other words, they can't pull anything over on you because you already went through the MIC program and you already know what's up. Okay. I hope that answers your question a little bit.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that I really struggle. Like if I was going to go out, I could not go out and perform, even if it was every other night. I see like I get tired, you know what I mean? So even if it's just one night, I need something like recuperate. So it's kind of like, well, maybe at my age, I will do a weekend or something, and then I need that time to recuperate because I'm not, it's not going to be sustainable for me to do what people do down here, the younger generation. And I just have to think of a plan to what is possible for me to do here, so I'm not going to exhaust myself, and what's going to be sort of sustainable for my career.
Right.
Um,
Now, something that a lot of artists, especially the younger ones, don't want to realize that they don't want to admit. Okay, I don't care what genre you're in. A lot of people are looking for pie in the sky money in order to become rich and have all these cars and jewelry and bling bling that they see on videos and everything. But long-term sustainment, and anybody will tell you, long-term sustainment and value comes from publishing and getting your stuff to other artists to use. You ain't gonna fight me on that. It's okay to be able to go out and do shows and make money and accumulate, but you got to remember you're accumulating bills as you go out and perform. I know, been there, done that, got a t-shirt, and I produced other people and managed other people and booked other people. There's bills associated with that has to be paid. And the longer you stay in the industry doing that, the longer you're going to have those bills that still have to be paid long time. So at some point you got to say, well, what's the smartest thing for me if I really am called to do this? And I want longevity and I want to leave a legacy. And that is, and anybody will tell you, publishing, even if it's publishing your own stuff and selling it to somebody else. Don't be so in love with your originals that you won't let it go if somebody wants it.
Great. Yeah. Solid advice. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I know I probably go off into some other tangents, but like that's just,
No,
you know.
I'm taking it all in, so thank
Mhm.
you. Yeah, great.
And that's the same
Okay.
thing with rap and hip hop, especially with clean lyrics. You'd be surprised how many publishers are looking for clean rap lyrics that they can give to their artists that they think has a potential. And something else, you cannot limit your marketing when it comes to things like hip hop and rap. And I meant to tell you that before, sir. Um, there's a wide range of stuff and avenues and venues that are rap artists and hip hop, if there's clean lyrics and clean messages, can get noticed, especially at that age that you are. Anyway, okay, that's going to be another session maybe.
Okay. Any other questions for Thomas? Good questions, by the way.
Yeah.
And good answers. Okay. If there are no more questions, I will pause for a second and thank everyone for attending today. I am going to drop our chats back in the our links back in the chat one more time if you guys need anything. Again, definitely follow Thomas online. His music's fantastic, and I can't recommend enough following him. He's been an invaluable resource to me since he's joined MIC. I try to always kind of when I get involved working with someone, give them everything they need to kind of get where they're going. And I feel with Thomas, I feel it's the other way around. He's given me a ton of knowledge and wealth of experience that's helped me a lot with our artists. And so I'm really grateful to not only have him as a member, but now have him as a mentor for the musicians in our community. So thank you again for taking the time to put the presentation together and for taking the time to walk us through everything that you discussed, and looking forward to the future ones, because I again, very rarely do I do one of these things where I'm just like, I learned something, but you hit me with a bunch of things like, oh yeah, I need to hear that today. Thank you. I'm gonna get off this call and do a whole bunch of networking. So thank you again. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you for
So
giving
yeah.
me the opportunity to be with the MIC family. You know,
Yeah.
it's a two-way street, like I was telling you, you know.
And once you're a family member, you're a family member for life. We're like the mafia that way. You can't get out.
Funny.
So if there aren't, yeah, go ahead. I was talking over somebody. Sorry. Did anyone have a question or comment or?
It might have just picked me up laughing. Sorry.
Oh, okay. All good. Yeah. All right. Perfect. I get paranoid about that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry. Don't want me to talk over you. All right. Well, if there are no more questions for today, thank you everyone then for attending. Remember, our next meetup is going to be on Tuesday, August 12th, and we'll be talking about techniques for growing a diehard fan base. You'll be stuck with me, not Thomas. Maybe he'll attend and add some add some color to it in a way that like you guys can learn a little bit more than my normal past presentations have been on that topic. But again, thank you so much for taking the opportunity for coming here today and for supporting. And Thomas, again, thank you for giving an amazing presentation. And I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay.
Likewise. Thank you for all the knowledge. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day.
Thanks.